Diablo 4 devs describe mismanagement crunch. This is from Brendan Sinclair over at gamesindustry.biz. As Diablo 4 developers prepare a final push to the game's planned release date next year, a number of current and former Blizzard employees who worked on the project described a troubled development process to the Washington Post. The Post published an article based on discussions with 15 current or former Blizzard employees. While the current plan is for the game to release June 6th, they said it has already been pushed back multiple times, and even meeting this date is likely to require significant crunching. While Activision-Blizzard is not mandating crunch, it is incentivizing it with perks some developers describe as paltry. Those perks range from $25 in DoorDash credit for people working more than 10 hours a day to a stock bonus plan where developers who finish the game and stay with the company for at least a year after can get anywhere from $5,000 for entry-level employees to $50,000 for senior-level developers in stock if performance targets are met. Employees blamed poor management for the crunch and repeatedly shifting release date. Original director Luis Barriga and lead designer Jesse McCree, both of whom were fired last August in the wake of state and federal gender discrimination lawsuits against Activision Blizzard, were blamed for not following through on discussions, abandoning features, and throwing away the work already done on them, micromanaging, pursuing certain elements of the game, and then losing interest and delegating them for others to finish. A process that would begin burning people out. Former Epic Games and Irrational Games veteran Rod Ferguson was also cited as the problem. Having parachuted into Irrational Games late in BioShock Infinite's development, Ferguson had some reputation for getting troubled games across the finish line. However, Blizzard employees said when he joined the team in February of 2020, his big contribution seemed to be launching a Rodcast weekly Zoom meeting where several hundred people would listen to him mix addressing legitimate development issues with talk of movies or celebrities he knew. Quote, people got frustrated because we all thought he was going to come in and fix the game, one former employee said, and nothing happened. That's when you started to see this massive turnover. Other factors, developers said, exacerbated the loss of experienced developers and institutional knowledge were poor pay, unsatisfactory working conditions, and morale. After the company's gender discrimination lawsuits landed, senior leadership changed at both Blizzard and on the project itself, and Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick blamed the publisher's falling stock price not on the mounting scandals it was facing, but on the delays of Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, which one developer said did not go over well. Shocking.
What?
For those at Blizzard Albany, seeing their former studio head, Jen O'Neill, promoted to co-leader of Blizzard and then resigned months later, saying Activision Blizzard refused to pay her the same as co-leader Mike Ybarra was a further blow. Quote, you're like, man, I feel like I'm working for the bad guys, one woman who formerly worked at Blizzard Albany said. Quote, I feel like any work I do is tainted by this name. A Blizzard spokesperson told the Post, quote, as you may know, game development in general, and Diablo 4 specifically, follows an iterative process where the scope evolves over time. Production on the game is going extremely well. Overtime is voluntary and limited to specific teams. We regularly survey the team on their professional well-being, and the latest results are the most positive they've been in years. Yeah, sure. We believe you. This is right off the back of Diablo 4 previews went live this week, and everybody was super positive. And then the next day, this story launched. And this is honestly what I would rather talk about because I care more about the people than the fucking toy.
Yeah, and this is on the backdrop of what we were just talking about with the FTC acquiring Activision Blizzard. I mean, FTC, Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. I think this is just a perfect example of what Blizzard is like when they keep going on the way they are. They are not a good company. Nothing's changing. You know, with all the controversies they've faced in the recent years, nothing changed. Obviously, this is a case like we have all these people inside the company talking about how bad they're treated and how bad their benefits are, if you could even call them that. And then you have them come out and say, no, we're it's coming along great, and we're all, we're treating them well, and everything's going good. We're very positive, and it just sounds empty because it is, because it doesn't mean anything, because you can't trust a single word that comes out of this company's mouth. You can't. Everything, you should just take the opposite of what they're saying and recognize that as truth, because it's probably what the reality is. That's not even a joke. It's just true.
I know. I love when you get in your extremist bag, though. I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Like, this has been well documented at this point. We know what's happening over there. It's an Activision Blizzard studio. This is not surprising.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
It's unfortunate, especially because Diablo 4 seems like it's going to be a great game. I'm not going to personally play it because of these reasons. I imagine you're on the same wavelength. I mean, we've ducked out of things like Call of Duty, things like Overwatch 2, and et cetera, because we just don't feel like giving Activision Blizzard space for this type of stuff. Like, every time they're brought up, they should be brought up alongside all of the problems that they have. And as much as I would love to praise the work of these hardworking developers, I can't do it in good conscience when so many of them are suffering. And
I know. It's like the woman said, I feel like any work I do is tainted by this name. I hate to tell you, it is. It totally is.
It really is, and it's so unfortunate because these are quality games that are coming out of these studios. You know, people seem to really like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Diablo 4 is getting great previews. People still like Overwatch, I think.
Yeah, even though they took out characters that had been in the game for years because they had to balance them.
Who got taken out?
Temporarily.
May. Temporarily with May. Yeah.
Torbjorn also did. Some other characters did. And it's just like,
wow. But I mean, that's for balancing issues.
Okay.
That's
what game exists out there where they just say, like, we had to take this character out? What fighting game have I ever played, or Smash Bros. Character have you played where they just took them out after release?
I mean, League of Legends does that weekly.
Well, League of Legends isn't a good example of a good company who does things well, especially when Overwatch has been being made for years and they still have problems. And they didn't. And this is on the backs of them also not even having a campaign, which is one of the big things they were professing. It's just
that got delayed.
It's all stupid. You can't give these guys the benefit of the doubt at all. Though I feel bad for the workers who just have to carry this weight of the bad management practices.
I mean, I think you're being a little hard on Overwatch, but I agree with the sentiment at least. Yeah, and then I guess to like dig into some of the details of this story, the perks for working overtime: $25 in DoorDash credit. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's an insane.
A couple $1,000s of stock.
Oh, stock.
Great. That's fantastic. Like, this company makes billions of dollars. That does nothing for them. Yeah, that's really, and especially with the conditions that they have to work under, and man, them having to work their asses off to hit this June 6th date. I'd much rather you delay the game, you know? And let's be honest, we knew Diablo 4 got announced way early because they needed some good press, and this would have given them good press, but we all saw through that, and yeah, it's just, man, it hurts me to have to talk about this every week.
Mm-hmm. But we got it. We can't not.
Yeah, for sure. Connor, anything else we need to add to the story before we move on to the Game Awards?
No, I'm just looking at the people who... Okay, there's Jesse McCreary, and there's Louis Barriga. All right, I'm going to remember those names, those faces, I should say, because they're part of the problem. No, they don't work there anymore. I'm just
yeah. Where did they go? Exactly.